Alright students, this video is going to talk about section 1.5 for Math 2. This is nth roots and what they call rational exponents. Now first, a rational number is just a fraction. So all we're talking about is fractional exponents, and nth roots are the same thing. These are one and the same thing. We're going to skip over that part right there and jump to the core concept. The core concept focuses a little bit too much on whether it's odd or even, and you can get totally confused by this. So let's focus on this part right here. Okay. Alright, so the rule says the nth root of a is equal to a to the 1 over n power. That's how you read this, the nth root of a. Okay. Now, let's back that up a step. This is the rule. You already know this. You already know how to do square roots. The square root of 9 is 3 because 3 squared is 9. Okay. The square root of 25 is 5 because 5 squared is 25. Now, we don't really usually write this in between step, but let's do this. Move the camera a little bit there. Let's do this. If we wrote square root of 25 as, rewrote 5 as 5 squared, we don't write the square root as, we don't write the index there as 2, but it's technically that's what it is. And these cancel each other, and that's why the answer is 5. Okay, that might be helpful as we get into higher powered roots here, and you'll see why. If we have the fourth root of 16, you're not asking what's 16 divided by 4, that's the confusing part. You're asking what number to the fourth is 16. What we have to do in here is think the fourth root of what to the fourth, and that's the answer. So it turns out, well, how do I know that? Well, 16, side note here, we'll do a little scratch work in your head here. 16 is really 4 times 4, and 4s are just 2 times 2, and 2 times 2. So what you see is 16 is really 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, or 2 to the fourth. So the fourth root of the fourth power cancels, and that's why your answer is just 2. Okay. That might be a little bit confusing with all the 4's in there, so let's try it again. Let's do the third root of 8. Now your first thought is, well, 3 doesn't divide into 8, but we're not dividing. Again, we're looking for what number cubed is 8. So this is the cube root. So we want to write 8 as something cubed. That's the goal. How do you do that? Well, you think of 8 and you make a factor tree. 8 is 2 times 4, and 4 is 2 times 2. So 8 is really 2 to the third. Okay, everyone see that? So we rewrite 8 as 2 to the third. Those cancel. Well, let me write it a separate step here. We rewrite 8 as 2 to the third. These cancel each other out, and you're just left with what's inside. All right? So that's how you operate these. Now, the good news is your calculator has a button just for that. Okay? My calculator has this displayed like this. It has a square root, and then you can hardly see it here, but it has an x root. And so for the x root, if we want to do the fourth root of 16, for my calculator, I go forward, shift, that button, and that's how they say the fourth root of 16, and it is 2. Why? Because 2 to the fourth is 16. Okay. So it helps to run through some numbers like that. Let's take the third root of 1,000. That's 10. Why is that? Because 10 to the third is 1,000. Okay, so it's forwards and backwards is what it is. Okay. So let's get back to that fractional notation here and go over some stuff that you're going to see in the homework. So how they might write it, they might write it as 8 to the 1/3. It's not 8 times 1/3, it's 8 to the 1/3 power. And how this rule works is, when you see a fraction exponent, write a radical. Now, inside the radical, the 3 is what we call the index, 8 is the base, and 1 is the exponent. So, for some people, you prefer to change it into that. So how we solve a problem like this, you might think 8 to the 1/3 is really the third root of 8. 8 is really 2 to the third. So this operation cancels that, and you're left with just 2. 8 to the 1/3 is 2. Alrighty. Now, you can check that on your calculator, but you got to be careful. On the calculator, you're going to type this. 8 to the 1/3 power. Now, you think you did it right, but that's just going to be the 8 to the 1, take your answer divided by 3. So if you're going to do this on the calculator, you have to use the parentheses button. And it will still give you 2. It's good to check, it's good to know how to do it both ways. Because not all numbers can be done to the 1/3. Okay, and there's going to be times in your homework when you'll have to do 2.75 to the 1/3. I can't do that in my head, so use the calculator. Okay. So again, just reiterate, nth roots look like that. X to the 1 over n, again, would be the nth root of x. If that confuses you, again, go back to a number example that you're familiar with. Okay. Now, one other thing about that, it doesn't have to be 1 over n. You could have a over b, stuff like that. Again, without numbers, it gets kind of confusing, so let's go back to a numbers thing and say 3 to the 2/5 power. And let's look back to our rule here, the index and the exponent. Index, exponent. So 3 to this power, that'd be the 5th root of 3 squared. So again, this number becomes the index, 3 is the base, and 2 is the exponent. Now, if you simplify that, you get the 5th root of 9. I don't know what that is. Again, there's going to be times when we need a calculator. Okay, so look for times when you can break it down, but 9 can only be 3 and 3, and we're never going to get a 5th power out of that. So this is going to be some decimal answer. Okay, but like I said, come back to one that you know, especially if you don't like all this what I call alphabet soup. X's, the A's, the B's. It gets confusing. Which goes where? Okay, so go back to, this is the base, that stays inside. 2 stays with it, and 5 gets kicked outside. It's the index. Alright, hope that helps. Thanks for watching.